just the three of us then, or will there be others coming, other hosts?
What to see? Usually we have Sumit and Howard join us, but we'll have to see if they're available.
Okay.
Everybody's doing this on a volunteer basis, so.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, and Char, I don't know if you know, but while Sam and Jessica were here in the Netherlands for 2 days, I did get the chance to meet them in person. So that is that is also something special.
Sam and Jessica feel like family to me almost, you know.
I bet, yeah.
Obviously, because we get to see each other.
All right, welcome to the People Strategy Forum podcast. So we're a show that guides leaders on how to elevate the workplace. And we believe that people are at the heart of successful organizations. And team members' well-being, their rewards, their career development, it's all essential to a happy and healthy workplace. So this show discusses the practical and effective leadership strategies for top executives, senior professionals, and talent managers. And so today we have a number of our hosts with us today. And I would like to introduce you first, Howard Niswitz. Howard is a seasoned compensation advisor with a strategic HR consultant as well. He's got a lot of experience with over 30 years of experience. And so I'm very fortunate to be working with Howard. We're good colleagues from long ago in Barclays. And so nice to have him here. Then we also have Sumit Singla. And so Sumit is an experienced HR consultant dedicated to helping small to medium-sized enterprises scale up. He has a strong background with a lot of top consulting firms such as Accenture and Deloitte and Aon and GE. So it's great to have Sumit here. He brings a great amount of experience and is known as the culture guy out in cyberspace. And so he keeps us on track with the international experience. And then, of course, we also have Shar Miller. So Shar is a person that comes with some great expertise. She has been a chief HR officer in several large organizations, as well as her own company. Shar is a serial entrepreneur. She has plenty of irons in the fire, including Mountain and Sea career advocacy, and then also Mountain and Sea health advocacy. Or I'm sorry, Shar, I shouldn't say career advocacy. You're a career coach.
Yeah, it's all in the sea because I live half time in the mountains and I have lived half time in the sea. How about that?
That's right. And you're an advocate for everyone. So
yes, as a former traditional HR lady, yes, I am.
Perfect. All right. Well, I'm definitely pleased to introduce to you our speaker today. Today, we're delving into the topic that is pivotal to the rapidly changing landscape, and it's resilience at any stage and at any age. Allow me to introduce you Mary Jane Roy. She's a dynamo in the realm of resiliency and emotional agility. She's a former registered nurse and also a military nursing officer. Is that right, Mary Jane? Yes.
Right. Yeah.
And she's she's also founded the company Creating Waves back in 2011. And so she's a seasoned corporate advisor, an acclaimed author, and a magnetic speaker. So I'm very pleased to have her here with us today. So welcome, Mary Jane. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and so our community of listeners can know a little bit more about you.
Okay. Well, thank you for that introduction, and I'm really happy to be here and to meet all of you. Sam and we did meet here briefly in the Netherlands on a visit a few weeks ago. So how did I get into this? Next month I'm going to turn 69, so I'll be in my 70th year, and around my early 50s, because this will give you context, I started having some really serious heart health issues. And I felt very strongly they were related to not dealing with stress well. I called myself for decades a stress bunny, and I created massive amounts of fiction for the future. The what if scenarios were really prevalent, something that some of you might recognize. What if this happens? What if that happens? What I've learned since then, by the way, is that around 90% of what we worry about never comes to pass, and only 1 or 2% is as bad as we think it is. So we do a lot of unnecessary worrying, but it cost me a lot in my health. And so I started, I think because of my nursing background, I was really open to doing a deep dive into what is stress, what does it do to us physiologically, how can we better deal with the stress in our lives, what strategies can we develop to deal better with it. And that took me on a journey, 3-4 years, various certifications. Not that I ever thought that I was going to be using this to train, to work in corporates, advising. It was all for my own personal health. And then this aha moment happened in 2011, where I realized that I have all this knowledge that I've gained. And that was over about a 4-year period, approximately. And in that knowledge, I thought, there is so much pain in the workplaces. What if I can share what I know with those employees, people that are working in corporate environments, to deal better with the stress that they have? And of course, stress led to a deep dive into resilience and what it is, and also the strategies around how we can develop a greater resilience in life. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. And I don't know if there's any other tangent you want me to go off on, Sam, but fire away.
Well, I would love to hear just a little bit about, deeper in your history, is where you mentioned being in nursing and so forth. And do you feel like that has prepared you in a way to really help organizations? I mean, it seems like there's, being in that field, I mean, you're dealing with crisis, you're dealing with caring. And so it seems like it's a natural fit for what you're doing today.
Yeah, it is. But I have to say that background goes back 40 plus years ago. So I had a lot of time in between where I was also working together with my husband. We had a consulting business. I was doing a lot of things at that time that really, I wasn't following my passion, but I was following his passion. And that might also be recognizable for a number of the viewers and listeners. So, but what I feel really has helped me is the fact that everything that I share is scientifically based. So this is where I think my strength has been, where that medical background has really supported me, is in being able to read research and discern what's fact, what's not, what is supposed, as a supposition, or what is really research based. And so that, I think, has been the advantage, Sam. And I'm really grateful, although it was the first 10 years of my life, of my career life, that I was working in the nursing field, but it has had lasting impact in everything that I've done. So, yeah.
Well, we're here today to talk about a really important topic as far as really utilizing the entire workforce, thinking about how we can be resilient overall as companies and leaders, and understand the strength of every team member on the team. So one of the things that I've been diving into a lot over the past year and a half is the fact that demographics are shifting across the world. I mean, we're having a lot of the places that we relied on in the past for supplies, goods, and services is getting squeezed, right? So meaning, like for instance, China has been a powerhouse for creating products for the world. In Europe is Germany and a lot of other countries. U.S. is included in them. Canada. We're all experiencing this demographic crisis, meaning that there is more people that are older than there are younger in a lot of cultures. And so this is causing problems for pensions and social services in those particular areas, and it's also creating problems for organizations and the workforce as a whole. We're finding that there's just not enough people to be able to do the jobs that we want them to do that has the skill sets that we're looking for. And I think that we've seen or witnessed massive movements across of populations across the globe in the due to crisis and other things that have gone on. So of course, we've have people coming through the southern border of the United States. There's the people coming into Europe from Africa and under great crisis. And a lot of organizations in countries have welcomed these people, and not only because they're desperately needed, but out of the goodness of their heart. Now, the next thing is, of course, how to bring these people into our cultures and make them, having them being productive members of society and so forth. And so that's another challenge. But I think that what I'm trying to set here is just the groundwork of one reality, is that the future is of the workforce is in a lot of developed countries, it's being squeezed demographically, and we need to value and really harness the ability to communicate to all the different demographics or what is it, I'm losing the word, but all the different age groups, of course.
Generations.
Generations. There we go. There's
Yeah.
We need to make sure that we're harnessing all the different generations in the workforce, because they're going to be desperately needed. And some of these situations and some of the folks that are looking for retirement, we might be asking them to stay a little bit longer, because we need their knowledge, we need their experience and wisdom that is going to help elevate the rest of the team, because that at that lower level, like we mentioned, there's a skill gap that needs to be filled. So what are you seeing, Mary Jane, in that regard with your clients overall?
Well, what I'm seeing is, okay, first of all, I think what's really important, and it's something we touched on earlier before we started recording, but the real problem is that organizations are not, when they're looking at the talent constriction, they aren't even considering looking at the 50 or 55 plus to boost their knowledge gap, their skills gap, etc. It's as if that group is being written off in many cases. It's extremely difficult here, at least in the Netherlands. I don't know how it is in other countries, but it's extremely difficult here that once you hit the age of 50, whether you've been made redundant, company's gone bankrupt, and you need to find new employment, or you just want to change in your career and you want to move on in your career, develop it, it's so very difficult for people to find new employment after that age group. So I mentioned earlier, I consider ageism is a real problem, and probably across the board in most Western countries. We have very deeply embedded stereotypical biases that we paint this generation of 50-plussers as a total group. And so this is really, I think, what's handicapping. They have such a great institutional knowledge, this group of people. And to write them off and to think, because you think they're going to be too expensive, because you think they can't keep up with the technological advances, they don't have enough energy, they're not flexible enough. There's so many different biases that you just have to look at your birthday cards, people, from after the age of 30 and see what happens to the messages that you're getting, you know. And so, yeah, this is a real problem. We need to start opening up to understand that the 4 or 5 generations working within the same organization, that is not just the future, it is the now. This has to start happening sooner rather than later.
It's,
And
it's,
how you do that and how you do that and integrate is the next step.
it's a really
Sorry,
hard,
Howard.
yeah, it's a really hard mindset to change. You know, people are living longer. There's better health, you know, facilities available for people to take care of themselves. And, you know, as you said, you're losing that part of the population that has a lot of experience. And yes, maybe they're not the quickest on technology anymore, but they have insights that the younger generations can truly benefit from, and they're all being pushed out. So how do you work in terms of changing that mindset and getting corporations to realize this is really a valuable population?
Well, are you asking me, Howard, to
Yeah, just I'm throwing it
Okay.
out.
Okay, thank you. No, and fill in everybody, if you think of other ways. But the first thing that I want to say is, and I'm really adamant about this, is let's stop using generational labels. The boomers, millennials, the Gen Zs. We have to stop this because it perpetuates the stereotypical biases. And so that's one thing. And then my next thing is a really simple solution. Have a conversation with the individual. Realize, I think, and maybe this is not as well known as it should be. I think it is because it's been part of my study for the last 3-4 years. But our brains continue to develop, grow. We can learn until the day we die, as long as we have a healthy brain, the neuroplasticity of the brain. So even though I might be maybe not slower in developing my technological skills, I can learn them. So will you give me the room, the space to allow me to develop and grow? And will you also give me the training and development that I need based on the fact that I learn differently? The older we get, the more crystallized our thinking, but that means that we can make connections where a younger person possibly can't make those connections because of this built-in experience. So those are things that come right off the top of my head, Howard.
Well, okay. Everybody knows
Yeah.
I want to talk. Okay. This weekend, okay, yes, I do watch my Netflix. I'm sorry if anybody who doesn't like Netflix, but I do. But there's this wonderful show. It's Tanya Tucker, who slipped into this out of the spotlight. Tanya Tucker, she was a rising brand for country music, right? And it seemed like you know, other country singers, Willie Nelson and many others that I can name off. But the female, you know, the main female that was really identified as popular was Dolly Parton, right? Because Dolly Parton has created this massive, you know, industry. You know, she's got parks and all these new songs, and she's partnering with Miley Cyrus, and they have all these cool new hip hop songs for today. And that is just the inter thing that I want to say, is that I was super proud that there are actually some kind of documentaries that highlight older women and women that used to be former rock stars, country star, I don't care what your music genre is, but to actually highlight the fact that music was created on, you know, this history. And it's not just your traditional, you know, Elvis thing. I mean, there's no offense to, sorry, Elvis or Prince, but there is an entire genre of females that really built our history of music. So this particular woman took Tanya Tucker under her arm and said, hey, let's write a album together and let's like celebrate your age, old time music, and then help redevelop it so that our younger generation is more excited about music from maybe 30 years ago. So that's one industry. I usually talk healthcare, but that's a music industry. So Mary Jane, what do you think about kind of this new trend where we're seeing in the media and in entertainment, maybe just a celebration of an old, for example, Clint Eastwood. That's another good one. He's 93, creating all kinds of music. or movies. So what's
Yeah.
what's your thoughts about that in the entertainment industry?
Well, and I think that's going to help set role models that start to that people will begin to realize, like with the Academy Awards. I think there were 3 women, at least over 50, if not over 60. I don't follow that anymore. I just, having living here in Europe, it's not something. But
Yeah, I know
correct me
this
if
is
I'm
kind of an
wrong.
American thing, maybe.
Yeah, well, maybe not. I mean, North American at least, but yeah. So that already is credibility. Then you have
North American.
someone who is the oh, she was on the cover of the swimsuit at 82.
Are you talking? Okay, help us, Sam. Howard.
Yeah.
Well, first of all,
But
Betty
people will
White.
know.
You're
People
calling
will
me
White
know.
was
out.
amazing.
Yeah, Betty White. But Tina Turner, all right, is another
Tina
example.
Turner, absolutely.
Tina Turner is another example. So all of the more attention that we can bring to older role models, and let's not forget people. And I was just listening to a talk that he did a year and a half ago. He's one of the richest men, Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett, right?
That's right.
Margaritaville.
No,
No.
the
I'm
financial
sorry.
guy.
Jimmy Buffett. Yeah.
Yeah, Jimmy Buffett is.
We're getting all confused. Warren Buffett is what we're talking about.
Warren Buffett, yeah, okay.
Okay.
So, I mean,
All right.
again, the more that we can demonstrate how active, and there was this wonderful woman, she passed away, I think, in the last 2 years. She was mayor of Toronto, mayor of Mississauga, which is a city outside of Toronto. And I'm Canadian, by the way, from birth, but here for 30 years in the Netherlands. Anyway, and I think her nickname was Hurricane Hilda. But at the age of 101, she was directed to as a board position for the Toronto Airport, Pearson Airport. We need more. We need more role models. That's one thing. We just have to stop and start. No, we have to stop being biased against ourselves as well. That's a big factor, everybody. Ashton Applewhite is a great person to follow if you want to understand why it's so important that and she's an American journalist, why it's so important that we stop ageism in its tracks. But in her TED talk, she used the analogy of, how often has she not had to stop herself from going, oh, this is just a senior moment, when you forget something. She said, well, when I was 20 at university, she said, when I forgot something, a book that I needed for a class, I didn't go, oh, I'm just having a junior moment, So we talk down ourselves. She's a wonderful sense of humor, and I really like her. But these are the struggles that we've got. As I said earlier, it is so embedded in our culture that the minute you hit 50 is not so bad, but boy, 60 and then 70, and I'm thinking, who are you going to compare me to? Next month I'll be in my 70th year. So, I've got lots of energy. I've got lots of skills that I've developed over the years. I've still developed this summer. I've learned how to. It was a steep learning curve, but I learned how to do a back end of an e-learning authoring tool. Very not intuitive at all for me. Those are skills that I can still apply to what I'm doing. And maybe I didn't say it earlier, but maybe this is most important. I might have said it. Have the conversations with the individuals. All right. Don't just disregard somebody's resume because it says that they're 55 and you've got a younger tech company. You need that diversity in the company. You need inclusive diversity in your company. And that includes all the generations that are out there, because you will have a far more, and this research is unequivocal, more productive, more creative, engaged teams, as long as they are inclusive. So psychological safety is a critical factor. I don't know.
So
Yeah.
another thing that I was thinking of is one, of course, is including older people in the workforce and making sure that they've got the right kind of career opportunities. The second also is, as the world ages, they're an important consumer segment as well. So
Yes,
you
yes.
cannot simply have, let's say, new technology and say, all right, fine, these couple of billion people, they cannot use the latest iPhone because they're behind the times. If you start targeting your advertising and marketing efforts, if you try including them in the fold, you're actually doing the right thing. You're also doing the right thing for your business. And I think that's
Absolutely.
where China's taken a lead over the rest of the world, because they do have specific universities that provide skills to the elderly. So people above 50, I mean, that's the minimum age for enrollment in, excuse me, in some of those universities. They're not for everyone to join in. And you've got courses that range from yoga to playing musical instruments to training to be a tour guide to just learning how to operate a smartphone. And so there are life skills that help you. There are also skills that help in employment. And so it makes a person feel more included as part of the workforce and not somebody who's a burden to be borne by the rest of society. And of course, considering they're likely to have 500 million people above the age of 60 in the next 2 decades, it's definitely a futuristic move from China. And I just wish more of the world would adopt measures like that.
Yeah, really good point, Sunit. And I think there is so much to be said. And I don't know the exact numbers, but the contribution that the over 60s, I usually see when I see quotes on it, is 60 and over, but the amount of contribution that we make to the gross national product in our countries is phenomenal. And the fact that it's like I heard once not so long ago about a tech company that was building a platform for design for providing all kinds of information on female hormonal problems. And it failed miserably. And why do you think that is? They didn't have one woman contributing. So Sumit, pointing, like if your demographics are showing that, we have a lot of money to spend at this age, and your products are geared to that demographic also, why not have some of us in there with the design and development and marketing of, I think we've got to see a change in our mainstream media and marketing that's happening also.
Completely agree. In fact, there was some kind of survey done in the last decade, which said, so it was a survey done on boomer women, and they found that this
older
is
women, Sumit, older women.
That's why the air quotes,
because I didn't see the okay.
Because the title of the survey was boomer women. That's why I use the term specifically.
Okay. Yeah.
They found that this segment is the segment that's spending the most amount of money on buying consumer products. But when they were asked, they said most of them felt ignored by the entire marketing effort. And I'm also glad it's kind of it's starting to change in my country, in India. So you've got a lot of older models and people who are in their mid 60s. So we've got a Humans of New York kind of an equivalent here, which is called Humans of Mumbai, Humans of Bombay rather. And they featured people who decided that, fine, I've had enough of just being on the sidelines, and they tried out new clothes and stuff. And somebody took a picture, it kind of went viral, and they got modeling offers. Initially, there was a lot of ridicule saying, you're just trying to stop the aging process, aren't you? But then gradually different brands pick them up, and now those people feel integrated into society, and they've become like role models, and I think that's a huge positive change that's happening.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. There is a great need. Every time my husband, he's 70, my husband's 76, and he's still going strong with multiple health concerns. I mean, really, but the guy's attitude is so positive. And he's up, by the way, at 4:30 every morning, and in the gym by 5 o'clock, 7 days a week. All right. So this is a 76-year-old, and has 2 different projects on the go. Definitely not your typical, what we think of, but I think he's more typical than we need. But anytime he hears, somebody, an example on TV, he's watched CNN International here, then it's, Mary Jane, here's one for you, here's one for you. But we need more of these role models. I'm just wondering if I can bring it back as well to the resilience piece, okay? Because I think this is also a really significant aspect. And when I speak about resilience, it's about personal resilience. It's really not about organizational resilience. And although if your personnel are more resilient, then obviously your organization, I think the two go hand in hand. I don't think anyone would dispute that. But I really, if you look at the definition of what resilience is, the ability to, this is from University of Pennsylvania, their positive psychology department, the ability to bounce back from adversity, stressful situations, and the ability to grow from challenges. And that's what I loved when I saw this definition. So it's about what I call bouncing forward. You bounce back from adversity, but you bounce forward from the learning that you do in that situation. And so the one thing that I really want to stress for the listeners is that it doesn't matter what your age or what stage you're at in your life. It's a dynamic process, and we can learn strategies to develop our resilience, our personal resilience at any age. Ideally, children in childhood would be the stage that we would start to develop some of the coping strategies, the emotional self-regulation, the curiosity skills that we need, and moving forward. But in the words of Gabor Mate, who's a Canadian doctor, what we learn as a toddler is what we take into adulthood, and that's the shame and blame game. And it's not a strategy that supports us. It doesn't serve us as that. It might have served us as a 3-year-old, but it's not going to support us as a 23 or 53-year-old. So, and I can honestly say that when I read that term, I thought, yeah, until the age of 52, 53, when I started to really do this deep dive into stress and ultimately into resilience, it was shame and blame. Either I was doing it to myself or I was blaming somebody else, for what was not happening in my life the way I wanted it. This isn't what we need. So again, it's a dynamic process, and I just really want to stress that we can develop the skills, the strategies that we need in order to become more resilient, and it doesn't matter how old you are.
So as you can see, I'm just sitting here itching to say something.
Okay, go.
So here's my reflection, because when I transferred from one non-healthcare system to a healthcare system and I became an HR generalist, it happened to be, I was a transfer when I turned 30 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
And hi, some of my former colleagues. Some of my former colleagues are my Facebook friends, and they were about a decade to 15 years older than me. And I was the 30-year-old. And hi, Shelley. Shelley threw me a little birthday party in my office. So she put, you know what confetti is, right?
Mm-hmm.
She blasted my office and it said 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30. All these little, and hi, Shelley. She was like 40. And at the time I was like, oh, it's my birthday, I'm 30 and I'm the brand new HR generalist, you know, and we all had the same job. We really are HR managers. They just never classified us right. But anyway, that's another story. But it was kind of interesting because I mean, that friend who's still my friend today, and my other friends that worked in the healthcare system with me, we all had different ages. Like I was 30, 40, 50, 60. And sadly, I mean, as a woman to a woman, no offense to the men on this program today, it felt even worse that as women, we were competing in a quote man's world. And I know I'm being stereotypical, no offense to men. It's just a very patriarchal world, in addition to the ageism that was happening, in addition to being a white blonde female and all the other dynamics. And you know, and I'm always like analyzing like sociology and what's happening and why are the boardrooms acting this way and why are people being so political and why is it so hard to hire the right talent, and like you said, why are we ignoring the 50+ work environment? Why does it seem the employees notice that the older generation is disappearing all of a sudden? There's pink slips going out, there's emails going out, we're downsizing, but then everyone turns around and there's everybody in under 30. Okay, that's a loaded question, okay? But the truth is that is the truth of reality, okay? And this may be over the last couple of decades, but now with the pandemic and maybe an awakening or whatever word you want to use, people are realizing this behavior is going to stop. So when you say this must stop, my loaded question is how? How do we make this stop? How do we open our eyes to ageism and all the other diversity aspects? What would be a tangible, actionable item that a talent manager or HR person or whoever's in charge of people for companies, what do you think we should do to transition this culture? Loaded question.
It is, and I'm sure there's multiple of answers. One that comes directly top of mind is the fact, bust the myths that surround age. And do you know who's a really great or I say who, but what is a really great resource in the US is ARP, your Retirement American Association for Retired People, I think is the
AARP, right?
Yeah.
And what age is that? Because I'm already getting mailings for that. I got that in my mid-40s. Is it 55? Is it 40?
I don't know. I don't know.
Welcome to the team, Shar.
Yeah, they do some great research, and they have a really great document. Sam, I can send it to you, the link to you, if you can share that somehow with the listeners, you know, however you put this out to the media, but where they bust those myths, you know, that it's we're too costly, you know. That's one myth that's out there. Without understanding, are there other ways that you can compensate us, you know, to keep us in the workforce? Maybe the flexibility is going to be, well, if you can provide me with a little bit more flexibility, because I might have a mother that I have to take care of 3 days a week, that I'm willing to take less salary, but still stay valued and seen and heard in a place that I've really given possibly a lot of my time in life to. And again, it comes back, Char, to having the bloody do the research. That's first and foremost. So everybody that listens to this, there is so much research in this area from the UK and the US primarily, and get your data, incorporate non-biased techniques of interviewing and screening and recruiting. Make sure you set maybe quotas on, you know, I want to have, for this role, I want to have people from over 3 decades to, you know, to apply. I know in the US, I think they're not even allowed to ask for age. I'm not sure if what it's like in other European countries here, or I say in other, but in European countries. I don't think they are here either, but they still do. That's what I'm told. Don't be crazy. You're shooting yourself in the foot. You're cutting your nose off to spite your face if you don't incorporate the older generations into your workforce. There is no single good reason not to, and a lot of good reasons to do.
And companies need to think differently. I think companies see the older generations, as you said before, too costly. They're in the way of, allowing younger people to be promoted up. And it's like, you have a valuable resource, speak to the people, see what else, as you said, they might be interested in. Would they be interested in taking time more flexible hours? How else can you utilize them versus just cutting the ties and throwing them out, and you're losing those resources.
Exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's a
In
mindset.
fact,
Yeah.
it's a mindset for starters, and of course it also needs strong intent. Like one of the examples is from the BMW plant in Germany, where in the assembly line they used to have the cars that were placed horizontally for workers to assemble, but they found older workers struggle to get under the car to work on it, so they tweaked the design of the assembly line to make the cars vertical, and therefore it was easier for older workers to work on them. And that's not only lip service saying, yes, we must get older workers into the system, or we must keep them. It's also, we must enable them to succeed and to contribute meaningfully. So I think that's the next step that a lot of companies haven't really thought of yet.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head, and that's a really good example. The BMW in Germany, and I had a thought come into my mind. Here I could say I'm having a senior moment. I'm not going to. I'm just having a moment, I got so excited by what you were saying, and I went immediately to another thought. We just there has to be some structure in the recruiting process, the hiring process. The example that I had in my head, and now it's coming back to me, is a 47-year-old friend of mine who asked for a lateral transfer to another department, but it would mean that she has to go through quite a learning development. She's been with the company over 20 years, and she was refused that lateral move because she's too old. All right. Now she still has here in Europe, she's at least in the Netherlands, at least another 25 years of work life. If you're stopping people from having the learning and development opportunities because they've hit a certain age, rethink what you're doing. You've got to make that investment to keep their skills with the times. And we just learn differently, as I mentioned earlier. But one of the things that we want to know is, if you want me to learn something, then I want to know why. What's the motivation? There's I just don't want to learn for the sake of learning. I did that, for the first 25, 30 years of my life. But now I want to know why it's important for me. So you build the case, as well in terms of your learning and development programs. And you'll find that you'll have very engaged, and again, not everybody, but the research out there is showing that we are more engaged, that we are more loyal. That was the word too I was looking for, to our companies, that you lose that. And I say more, but it's a definite advantage by having the older generation. And then I want to bring in, and that's something, Sam, we talked about earlier, that is the role that the older generation needs to play to engage the younger generation. We can't be pointing fingers and saying, oh, all of you young people are this or that. And that's one of the things I want to get rid of the generational labels for, because it perpetuates that. it's again about getting those conversations going between the groups. All right. So that is not difficult. And doing the reverse mentoring, you know, a younger mentoring an older, older mentoring a younger. My God, the learning that comes from that is amazing. So
okay. I love your topic. As you can tell, I absolutely love it.
I hope others will walk away from this Char loving it too, you know.
No, and and I'm as an HR/talent management person, to open up the dialogue about this topic, I think is really critical, because I've sat at the table saying, why is the fact that your recruitment program, it takes you 45 days, we have a critical position here, it takes you 45 days to fill this position. I've also been in charge of all the recruiters. And also I totally agree with you. The recruiters, no offense to my former team, but yes, they're looking for no offense, young talent, fresh out of college, maybe has 5 to 10 years of work experience, to break open the paradigm and the mindset, is a huge change management strategy. And however, like the data that I've learned from Sam and CompTeam is like, the world has to break open this paradigm to think that if you're younger than 30 or 45, that you're the golden child. No offense to your shirt, Sumit, but you're the golden child. And the fact that, you are my talent, you're young and fresh, just like a football team, just like the NFL. I have to make sure that they're the youngest and the brightest and the fittest and the fastest. But here's my point. I really do feel that some of our older generation, per se, whatever we want to call it, may have spent more time on technology, may have had the freedom to spend time understanding artificial intelligence, may have had the ability to research what's happening in our global economy, right? And doesn't say that our quote older generation has no ability to learn, to think, to develop. And you're right, our brains, from the research I've done, we're constantly learning, right? So I think our challenge is breaking that paradigm, or that mind thing, that group thing, because in my HR world, it's hard, it's there. And I can tell you, I've been at the table and I've tried to convince my colleagues to open their mindset about recruitment and talent management strategy, but it's a hard thing to win over. I really think it's data. I think it's data that'll break that shell, right?
Well,
Yeah.
Well, we will, yeah.
There's plenty of it out there, Char. There's plenty of it out there. So
you're going to say, Sumit?
So Char's bringing up sports. I mean, I'm a big football or soccer fan rather, and there are times when you play an older defender, because they're not as fast as the younger ones, but you play them for their positional intelligence, for their ability to read the game and to recognize different patterns, which a younger player may not be able to do. So while the person is physically lacking, they bring a different kind of value and a different kind of diverse skill to the team. So that's one. The second is my, suggestion or advice to companies is, you've got a huge demographic dividend staring at you in the face. You either take it or you get sued for non-compliance. So a large social media company, which was taken over by a billionaire recently, not taking names, they've been sued for age discrimination, because data shows that they laid off older workers at a much higher rate. And in fact, any of the top tech companies, it's kind of ironical that they sell technology to the rest of the world, but out of the so-called FANG, or now called the MANG companies, I think there's not a single one of them that's not being sued right now at this very moment for age discrimination. And that's shocking.
You know what else is ironic is that if you think about companies, while they're jettisoning, their older population, if they have a project like a business strategy and they're bringing in outside consultants, they typically don't bring in 20-year-olds consultants to help them with their issues. So on one hand, they're jettisoning people that might be able to help them. And on the other hand, they're willing to pay consultants top dollar for that same knowledge that maybe some of their population has.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
Yeah, and can I'm going to give one quick illustration of that. A friend of mine, a good friend of mine, was working here in the Netherlands for 10 years with his company, and she was told she had to retire at 67 and a half. She said to her employer, I'm really at the top of my game. I mean, I don't want to retire. She started her own consulting business, and she immediately had clients from past years hire her in, but also her ex-employer hired her back at a far higher rate because they couldn't find a younger talent to replace her institutional knowledge and experience. So, yeah. Okay, that's it now. I'm going to...
No, all good things. I think that what Shar was saying and Smit was saying as well, there's a lot of taboos out there that exist in the marketplace. And to go back to the full circle on what Shar said earlier, I mean, we were talking about Warren Buffett, Jimmy Buffett, right? And Jimmy Buffett as a performer, and we talked about athletes as well. So Jimmy Buffett, he sang until his 76 until unfortunately he passed away prematurely, but he was still working through that entire time. You know, wanted to do more shows, had them scheduled on the books, right? He was not going to be slowed down. But the reality is that as one of the taboos is as Sumit pointed out as well, as we get older, you know, our body does wear out a bit, right? I can feel it in my knees every time I bend down, you know, but
Okay,
so
we're just making fun of hair dye, okay?
that's right. But the important thing is that we make accommodations in the workforce for all age groups, for all different cognitive abilities, and so forth. And there should not be a taboo around that. I mean, it's just around the physical ability of a particular person or whatever. It doesn't mean that they're any less useful. Another taboo that we have is we believe that people only grow their career up, right? It's not just until recently we started thinking about, oh, well, maybe I don't want to take that higher level job. Maybe I want more work life. And so, you know, we are more common thinking that's acceptable at the family age, but why not at the senior age as well, when people are saying, well, maybe I do want a little bit more time. Maybe I want to enjoy the sunsets, you know, and so forth. I mean, we need to take away the taboos there. And another one is we in alignment with that, and in my field, there's a taboo to lower pay, right? So is there, if you are a part of the mindset is that, oh, we can never take pay away. But if you want a smaller job for flexibility, and you're willing to accept that for a lower level of pay, then why not? Why do we need to get rid of our higher or older workforce because we're afraid to ask them if they would take a pay cut? You know, if they want a smaller or lower level job for work-life balance, or something like that, so I think those taboos need to be broken.
It comes back, Sam. Communication. Have the conversations, and sometimes they're courageous conversations because they're not the easiest ones to have. But by asking the person, "What do you need from us?" and what, you know, how can we meet in the middle somewhere? Be curious. You know, if I can stress that point about the individual and not these standard generalizations and judgments that we're making about a group of people. It just doesn't cut it anymore. It can't.
I think you hit it right on the head there, Mary Jane. It comes down to communication and listening. You know, and it seems And that has come up many times in the past week for me, just in the regular course of work. It really comes down to communication and listening to one another, for sure. Well, I know we are coming up on the last few minutes of our time here, and this has been a great conversation.
Thank you.
Nobody escapes the getting older, right?
Yeah,
So-
that can I use this one, that if you're prejudiced, if you are ageist in your approach to others, and I'm talking now older ageism, then you're being prejudiced against your future self.
That's right.
All
That's
right.
right.
That's a quote that's out there, and it's not from me, but I do love it. It says volumes.
I love that. I'm gonna look up that quote because I see such judgment. And it's like, hey, sweetheart, you just wait.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. For Mary Jane, for people that want to know more and want to know more about how you can help them, how should they get a hold of you?
Well, for sure on LinkedIn, connect on LinkedIn, and let me know that you are responding because of this forum that I've taken part in. And also, I'm part of what's a platform, a global platform called Wise Move Society. And all the things that I've shared with you are the things that we really have as a passion at our heart for creating change in the world. And Char, you already have, you see yourself, and you are a serial entrepreneur. We also offer an entrepreneurial program just to explore whether or not you have the skills and the mindset to become an entrepreneur at an older age. Because again, research, we are much more successful from the age of 50 onward in setting up businesses than younger generations are. So we have, again, that crystallized learning that I think really comes into play.
Hey, you and I
So,
could talk for
Wise
2
Move
hours.
Society.
Yeah, I love it. I think we have that on here, right? Do we have that on our chat here? But absolutely. I do believe, just like if you start your master's degree later in life, you have a lot more to write about because you have real life experience and makes a big difference. I love that. So yeah, I'd love to look at your material. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome, everybody. Thank you.
Yes. All right. Well, we'll see everyone next week on the People Strategy Forum. Have a great week. Take care.
Thank you, Mary Jane.
Yeah, thank you.
Mary Jane.
Nice meeting you all, and we'll connect. All right.
Okay,
Let's
thank you.
connect on LinkedIn.
Thank
okay.
you.
Let's do.
All right.
Bye.
All right. Take care.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.